Hello everybody, so today we're just doing a video. Anybody that kind of follows myself doing, like, I do streams on my friend Adam's second channel. I'm with Adam. Hello
Well,
Adam.
he comes on as a guest. He doesn't just do streams. He is
I
my friend.
participate in
Yes.
streams.
Yeah.
Sorry to insult your ego, Adam.
Well, it's all right. You know, shoes on the other foot for a change.
Let's not go there. Yeah, so I participate, is that better?
Yes.
I
Yes.
participate in streams on Adam's second channel, which is called I Wreck Everything, and lately we've been doing a lot of discussions about Chris Chan. Now, I did a video on my old channel, a bit, I think it was on my own, where I did like a comparison of Lorne Armstrong to Chris Chan, because there are some comparisons. Now,
Yeah.
very briefly, when I think I mentioned in this in one of the streams I participated in the other week,
You were kindly allowed in.
I was kindly allowed in by yourself, yes. That I used to get a lot of requests from people asking me to cover Chris Chandler. Is it Christian Chandler?
Christian Weston Chandler, or
Yeah.
now Christine Weston Chandler.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's another story, isn't it? I got a lot of messages, private messages, and comments on a lot of my old videos saying, please do videos about Chris Chan. People who were interested in Lorne were interested in him as well. There's a lot of comparisons which we're going to talk about a little bit now. But for anybody that's not fully aware of who Chris Chan is, I think you're the expert in this kind of field, for good or for better or for worse. So do you just want to give a very brief overview on Chris Chan, Adam?
Okay, well, Chris Chan's kind of been in the public or the internet limelight for the majority of his life. I'm trying to think how he came to prominence. Really, he made his own YouTube channel a long time ago, and it's kind of a new thing. And he was very into kind of anime cartoons and. That's why he came to prominence, of course, because he created his own comic book called Sonichu, which was a combination of the characters Pikachu and Sonic the Hedgehog. And then he started putting on this website and was he had kind of delusions of grandeur and didn't really see the fact that his characters weren't original. They were just an amalgamation of two characters together. Of course, trolls latched onto this, and he has autism, and sort of a lot of people. He's a very gullible yet kind of misplaced, misguided.
Cool,
Sort of
sounds
with a
very familiar, that, doesn't it?
Well, it does, doesn't it? And that's what makes it interesting. I don't want to get into the meat of how I feel of the difference between the two of them just yet, but sort of, yeah. So he came to prominence from making this comic book and sort of making videos, and he would rant a lot and he would get upset at things that happen. Probably the saga and all the things that these have all been documented throughout Chris's life. They're referred to as sagas. There's always been a different saga happening at some time, and some of them have overlapped. And probably the one that was his breakout saga, I suppose, would be the Adam Stackhouse saga, when the guy, when he entered a Parappa the Rapper competition. Of course, Chris Chan's Eternal Love Quest was another. He was very open about the fact that he was looking to lose his virginity, and he believed by entering this Parappa the Rapper contest, he would win two PSPs, and he could keep one for himself and give one to the girl he wanted to become his heart suite. Which is how he says it, where most of us would say sweetheart. And so the Adam Stackhouse saga was because he entered this competition. Adam Stackhouse had no idea who this guy was, but he made a video of him shooting a pellet gun or something at Adam Stackhouse for winning. Chris Chan himself made a whole bunch of fake accounts to vote for himself in this competition, and then claimed that Adam Stackhouse was cheating because he used background music. However, the background music was a cappella music. You can tell how deep I've fallen into this rabbit hole recently. So Adam Stackhouse's entry was validated, whereas Chris was actually the one that cheated but never saw the hypocrisy in his actions. But yeah, that's how he came to prominence. But then ever since then, there's been this sort of never-ending queue of trolls fucking with the guy, and he's had a very public life where you can find footage of him from when he was a kid kind of making videos, and he also didn't come across a particularly nice person, especially in the olden days. He seemed to have a very open and public dislike of homosexual people.
He was a very easy target, and that's something we'll go into later, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's sort of for your viewers who may not be, for listeners who may not be familiar with Chris Chan. That's how he came to prominence. But there's, everything has been publicized. If you look deep enough, there's hours and hours of footage of this guy on YouTube.
Yeah, there certainly is. I mean, he's everywhere, isn't he? He's I mean, straight away, the reason, my reason, or our reason for doing this was the comparisons with Lorne specifically. Maybe TCAP people in general, the people that have been trolled by the TCAP community, if you want, or whatever. But there's two notable differences between Lorne and Chris Chan. Lorne, well, Chris Chan's never, as far as we know, attempted to molest a child. So that's a huge difference. But we're going to kind of... And also, Chris Chan has kind of low-level autism.
Well, no, he's high-functioning autistic.
Yeah, so, I suppose it depends on which way you look at it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But, yeah, so what I find kind of intriguing about all of this, and we are going to run the risk of covering old ground here, it's kind of the question of when does trolling become bullying? What is trolling? What is bullying? Is it ever justified?
Is that what you want answered today? I thought you wanted to compare him to Lorne.
It is, but in that way, you're kind of doing the same thing, aren't you?
Well, in the case of Chris Chan, he never... I mean, that's where the biggest comparison with Lorne comes into the situation, because they're both very easily trolled by women. It's the same reason that people send their money to some guy in Nigeria because they think he's serving in the army in the United States, and because people, it's easiest when, especially when it's someone like Chris Chan, who is so as he would say, just being true and honest. And because he had his sign, which was another famous thing that brought him to prominence. He got banned from a mall, I guess you would call it, a shopping center, because he would go and sit there with a sign saying that I'm, and this is why a lot of people actually could draw some parallels with yourself and Chris Chan, Andy.
Oh, really?
Well, because he had this sign that said, like, I want a girl who is between the ages of 18 and 23 or something, must be attractive, must not have autism, even though he's...
I don't remember ever saying that to anybody.
No, but you know, having standards, people get upset if people, there are certain things...
Oh, you mean the online backlash that I had a few weeks ago?
Yeah, because you said you took a... Well, we won't go into it, but... I don't think you even mentioned it's a particularly good idea, but because of this sign, a lot of people took offense to it, because they're like, well, you've got autism, how can you demand to have a girlfriend that doesn't have autism? And but the trouble with Chris Chan, he doesn't do himself any favors, because he quite often falls back on his autism as like an excuse for his behavior. And to be fair, some of his behavior has been quite despicable, but the trolling that he's received, if you're looking at it as a whole, and I guess this would only apply to people who know the full story, but the trolling he's received, some of it has been far too dark and disturbing for my liking.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to get, this is the thing, isn't it? With people like him and online, you're always going to get those people that go too far, really nasty characters that really wouldn't shed a tear if you died a horrible death, and that's... It's not being bleak, that's just the truth. There's some people are like that, and
you almost get the impression sometimes, like, the people, that's their aim. Like, if the person kills themselves, they'll be like, yeah, mission completed. I mean, I don't understand. Like, with Chris, he's had trolls in his life, and again, it's kind of another parallel you can draw with old Lorne Armstrong, because he's had trolls in his life, Chris Chan, who have tried to make him better his ways and not be so lazy, and try to understand that his comic creations, he needs to come up with an original idea rather than just blending two previously existing ideas together, which would, if they ever did become successful, would surely get uh, copyrighted by Sega and Nintendo. I mean, I believe they are familiar with Sonichu, most of the employees in Nintendo.
Well, I mean, they'll all be sort of all those people that are, computer program. Well, not all, but a lot of them will all be heavily invested in the YouTube world. One would imagine, and you're gonna know about him, and all the sort of the computer game culture and all that. So it's not surprising, but. Yeah, what you're right about the thing. The interesting comparison for me is how much responsibility can a person take. With Lorne, obviously, he had to take it all because he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing was wrong. He still did it, and he continues to get trolled to this day. And it's all. I will never deny that it's all his own doing, and he's got enough about him to make the right decision. However, there is potentially that aspect that he's like such a desperate person. Is it kind of right to do it or not? But with Chris Chan, he has that added kind of target written on his back, or weakness, shall we say, of autism. I don't mean to insult anybody that has it and say it's a weakness, but what I mean is it can be seen as being, or it could be perceived as a weakness, because life can be in some respects a little bit tougher than it can for someone who doesn't have it. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think with Chris Chan, I mean, if you're getting into kind of the psychology of it, I think he's been quite spoiled and so always expected to get his way. I think he looks at or talking about old school Chris Chan, I think he looks at sort of losing his virginity was a rite of passage, and it took over his life and became the most important thing in his life. And even if you felt that way, probably the worst thing you can do is make it public on the internet. It's very strange because he's sort of someone that's always grown up. His dad worked in computers and stuff, so he was
His dad
someone
was
that's grown.
quite successful, wasn't he?
I believe so, but then some of Chris's views, and if you're familiar now, he's with him being Christian, and I believe he's now changed all his profiles to being bisexual. But I think, like a lot of people say, oh, Bob was wonderful, Chris Chan's dad, but he also, I think he was quite an old-fashioned conservative kind of person. I think a lot of Chris's hatred and confusion around homophobia may have stemmed from his dad instilling his beliefs in him, and of course that led to a lot of problems because Chris is making videos saying things like, I like hanging around with women better than men, but I don't have a problem with men, but I hate the homos, and things like that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and maybe that's born out of a confusion, conflict. I mean, I've been looking at this stuff very deep, and apparently at one point he told someone about how, like, he would, if he was watching porn, he would get a vision of a penis in his head, or he would hear voices with people just saying, Christian, you're gay. And it's like, well, probably if he'd grown up in a more liberal household where he'd been able to embrace who he was or his sexual, and even understand his sexuality a bit more, or the fact that perhaps being attracted to the opposite sex isn't a terrible thing that you'll go to hell for. And I think that's what he says. He mentions it in one of the things I was listening to, that he says people shouldn't be homosexuals, or there should be a vaccine for them or something like that. And the guy says, why would you say that? And he's like, well, it's not that I hate them, I don't want them to go to hell. And you kind of like, wow, this is just a very confused guy.
And what's the sort of main comparison that you draw with Lorne then, or the Lorne case?
Well,
just the amount of trolling, or his susceptibility to women.
I think Lorne's is more of a condensed thing, and you can't be sympathetic towards Lorne in the same way you can towards Chris Chan and be accepted. I understand Chris Chan hasn't helped himself at all in these situations. And maybe if he'd had a good mate in real life that could have sat him down and had a proper chat with him, or just someone to guide him through and say, you know, if people are bothering you on the internet, it's time to get yourself a low profile. Whereas with Lorne, but they both they wouldn't do it because they both have this delusion of grandeur. Lorne thought he was going to become a famous pop star. Chris Chan thinks he's a famous artist. Lorne's is more of a microcosm because
but Chris Chan did have a medium of success, though. Well, not success, but what I mean is he had genuine followers, didn't he, that liked the Sonichu thing.
The thing is, I've read the sort of half the first episode, and there's something endearing about it. But I mean, it's mostly, I didn't realize. I don't think he's freehand drawing those characters. He's coloring them in. Like he's just taking existing.
I thought some people genuinely liked it.
I think that mostly stemmed from the trolls, and that's the thing is, I really want to read the comic books because they start off, I believe, quite innocent, but they take this kind of, and how much of that is him himself and how much is he's being influenced. But they sort of take this dark turn into a sexual thing, and he does like different versions of the comic where you get like the for all rated, so the sex scenes are censored, and then he's got like the PG-13 rated where like you can see the tits or whatever, and then he's got the full blown thing. It's like, how can something that started off as a comic book for kids end up with you making your characters all fucking each other?
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. I mean, so let's say that they both had, like you were saying, didn't want to interrupt your flow, but they both had delusions of grandeur, which is quite an important comparison, I think.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, the thing with Lorne is before he could, well, Lorne only came to the public presence due to something that was internationally televised. So you'd think more people would know about Lorne perhaps than Chris Chan. However, because Lorne he only came to the public eye, last year, the year before sometime, or to the very small amount of public eye that was looking out for him. Whereas, and then sort of that was all ended because he is a sex offender, so he wasn't allowed to go on the internet further. Or maybe finally someone did sit down to Lorne and just say, look, no one's rooting for you, mate. Just get off the internet. Who knows?
It ended when he had his internet taken off him because he got in trouble.
Do you think? Yeah, but do you think now he's still not had any access to the internet or to update?
Oh no, I think that WhatsApp. This is there are people out there that know more. We can speculate. I'm not, but this is. I think that he had his internet taken off him because he violated some kind of parole requirement, and then when he got access to the internet again, he just couldn't be asked. He just couldn't be asked doing it because the last video he made on his channel was
full of hate. The comment section.
Oh God, you read it. Some of it is like funny, and some of it's just like you can't help but think, God, does any human being deserve that kind of onslaught? The stuff that's being said. But
I mean, I think if you saw that, you would just think, I won't come back to that channel. But he should have never started it in the first place.
Of course, and this is the thing. You can't. Listen, I'm not whiter than white in any of this. I made a shitload of videos about Lorne, so one could argue that I'm trolling him and I've bullied him. YouTube certainly seem to think so.
I think that's the difference, though. What YouTube thinks is a bit.
I'm not asked what YouTube think, but I always questioned morally what I was doing, even in my earliest videos, and not to try and draw attention, but I always wondered.
Yeah, but you never encouraged people to go out and harm him.
No, but I'm not talking about that. A lot of what I said was analytical, and although I did say unpleasant things about him sometimes, do I have the right to make an amount of videos about Lorne?
But why not? It's internet subculture. It's what people on the internet want.
Yeah, it is. And to be fair, this is the way I look at it, right? And it might be me trying to justify it. I mean, it doesn't. It's like I've said before. The channel got taken down. It's not a huge. It pissed me off, but it's not a massive thing. But
it doesn't need to be justified. Like you look at big YouTube channels like Leafy is Here, PewDiePie. They always make videos on other smaller channels, and like whether it's not always complimentary. I mean, especially someone like Leafy is Here, who was just taking the piss out of little kids on the internet.
Oh, totally. And this is what I was going to say. At the end of the day, it was all fair game when he decided to make his own YouTube channel. He wanted the best of both worlds. Basically, he and this is a regular theme we talked about. He started his own YouTube channel and was complaining about the negative, comments and things. He couldn't grasp. He just couldn't. He didn't have the intelligence to process that. To go online and try and gain financial reward and popularity or whatever from what he'd tried to do on the show on to Catch a Predator, but yet not have to take any of the negative from it. It's almost an insult to everybody's intelligence. It's like, are you really that deluded? As I'm saying these words now, it's starting to like annoy me a little bit. And then obviously, whatever's going on with him now, I don't know. I'm not really that bothered anymore. It was all getting very boring.
But I think if he was still online making videos, then absolutely we'd have a right to laugh.
Oh yeah, of course. But we did numerous
if
videos.
You put something online, then everyone has a right to mock you for it. And this is, in regards to the trolling of Chris Chan, some of it turned very dark. Some of it, I think, was actually just trying to help him, but sort of a little bit taking the piss at the same time.
Well, that's what I liked about the Ramona thing at the beginning when we started doing. I think we both did a lot of videos about it. Initially, it was like he was trying to, whoever this Ramona was trying to like make him see the error of his ways, and at the same time, we were getting amazing entertainment out of it. That 3.5 hour call that me and you got, I've no problem in admitting it. That was one of the most entertaining things I've ever listened to. And I thought, he's learning a lesson. We're getting entertainment out of it. Everybody's a winner. And then I just didn't like the way it went. It went doing it for the sake of doing it. Let's try and destroy this guy. And I was like, well, hang on a minute. Do we have the right to do that? With Chris...
If you look at the comparison with Chris Chan, especially what I know you're not up to date on the fantastic documentary that's being put up on Parts at the moment, but if you look at the darkest part of the trolling there, they were certainly under the influence of other people. And you don't, like, this is the trouble. Sometimes things start out with the best intentions.
Yes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You think you're doing good and you're not.
Yeah, and then it starts to become maybe... I mean, the thing is, I found, like, the first of those calls really... for me, the problem was never really... I would have liked more sort of looking at telling Lorne to see the error of his ways and that sort of thing. And bringing in different characters was always good for a laugh. But for me, I never really had a trouble. I don't think any of it really went too far or anything. Not like it has with Chris Chan. It just became stale. That was my only issue with it. And I suppose it's a bit rich coming from me because I could have pretended to be a woman and trolled Lorne and tried to be entertaining, but I don't have the time. And also it's a bit strange if I phoned up.
Yeah, it would be a bit odd.
Yeah, so...
No, it was just, I mean, it's all about perspectives. You can't... No one can stand up.
That's the difference. Lorne sort of had just one troll for ages and ages and ages, whereas Chris Chan's, there's always been a select... Even, he's been dealing with multiple trolls at the same time. So there is entertainment in the whole Chris Chan. I mean, he himself as a character is entertaining. I would say much more entertaining than Lorne, although Lorne rants, but he just screams and shouts the word arsehole a lot. Whereas,
Lorne's bashfulness is very, very entertaining. And to be fair, it's not necessarily Lorne himself that's that fascinating. What is fascinating is the situation that arose because of everything that he went through. The whole sort of saga, and you mentioned that word, and like people like to say that about Chris Chan's events. But with the Lorne thing, it's all the total uniqueness of his situation. And it was unique had he just stopped at the lawsuits, but no, it went on. He YouTube channel then, and he was getting trolled by a member of the community that was there to mock him. Then he tried to make money out of that community. I mean, it's
Well,
totally
Chris
crazy.
Chan does make some money. I mean, the thing is, there's a lot, but he's a lot better known than Lorne, and also I think there's a lot more people quite rightfully feel sympathetic towards Chris Chan, although I don't know how far that sympathy should go. I think a lot of people have tried to help, and this is another comparison you could make, and perhaps explains the reason the trolling went. There's a lot of people tried to help Chris Chan, and then they just saw him as, the closer they got to him. This is only what I know from hearsay, but the closer they got to him, the more that they realised he was just selfish and he wouldn't listen and this sort of thing, and was just obsessed with China.
Well, that's how he doesn't help himself, and exactly the same happened with Lorne. No matter who you spoke to, and it was quite obvious in the content that we had, he really wasn't. He wasn't a great guy, was he? You could always maybe try and give him the benefit of the doubt and say, well, he was, and listen to the excuses he came out with, but he just didn't. He just at every opportunity, at so many points, did he have the opportunity to do the right thing and never did.
Well, this is where you probably draw the biggest comparison between the two. Neither of them take responsibility for their own actions. Chris Chan says it's autism. Lorne just blames anything else but himself.
Yeah, and that, that's the ultimate downfall in most people's lives, and to a major degree in both of them. I mean, you look at the latest Chris Chan videos, and he almost looks like he's insane. He's gone. Has he had an up? What's the level of his womanhood now? Has he had anything done?
Well, I told you something off air earlier, but I don't know. I don't think it really matters if I repeat. And again, this is only things I've read, so it's like secondhand information. Do not take my word as gospel. But I know Chris Chan had been hinting that he was in a polyamorous relationship with both a man and a woman now. But apparently, just within the last few days, it's been revealed that those people are characters from his comic book that he's now in and I listened to some calls that I'd never heard before, and he does talk about his comic characters as if they're real life, and he says something, he tweeted, I believe, something about how he can travel to that world or something. He really believes that they're alive, these characters. Now apparently he's dating a male and a female Sonichu in a three-way relationship.
But I would ask anybody that's listening that's a bit curious, hopefully you are if you're still listening now, look at the last videos he's released on his channel. You only have to type in Christian Chandler on what's the name of his channel?
Guardians of Quickville.
Guardians of what?
Quickville. CWCVILLE, because that's CWC for Christian Weston Chandler, or Christine Weston Chandler, sorry.
Yeah, so type that in YouTube. Look at his last video where I think it was something like along the lines of I'm sick of the haters or something like that, and he just
I believe there was one that was removed quite quickly also that came up. The sick of the haters, and he was saying I hate the commentary, which because I think there's a lot of people who've seen Gino Samuel's documentary, which is fantastic, but a lot of people like us who have suddenly popped up and started doing quite a few videos on Chris Chan as well. But I mean, if Chris Chan was willing to speak to me or something, I wouldn't be mean to him, and I certainly don't encourage anyone to go and be mean to him. Or Christine, sorry, I don't mean to disrespect him, but I wouldn't be mean to him. But there are certain ways I think she could improve her life.
Well, that was tried with our good friend Mr. Armstrong, and you reached out to him, even I did, and he just shuts it in people's faces. It seems to be a common theme with him. He won't do anything unless he thinks there's some reward for himself in it, like either financial or with a woman. That seems to be a common trait of his.
Chris Chan would say, for some China.
Yeah. But that's just the way some people are. But yeah, I suppose that we just wanted to just have a quick chat about the comparisons and the trolling. I don't know what's going on with Lorne at the minute.
No, I believe there was a call uploaded, but I had to find it because I heard something about it. So
Yeah, something flashed up on my Facebook feed, but
you know what I've noticed though, when I've been going through all the old Chris Chan videos, I keep coming across comments from Holden Ryan, but I haven't seen him for ages. So if you're listening, Holden Ryan, do let us know you're all right.
yeah, I have seen something. I don't want to put personal information on here about him, but there was something going on in his life. I think he's all right, but I think he was had a few challenges to deal with.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah, it's nice. I see his comments, so like, oh, funny to see you here, but I haven't heard anything back.
I noticed, was it? I'm looking at a Chris Chan video, and I did notice that there were some people from the. I'm sure it was some people from like the TCAP community that I
Oh
recognised. Am
yeah,
I going nuts? I'm
no, no,
fucking
there's quite a
sure I
lot
did.
of crossover you find. You'll find it's just another rabbit hole. When I watch my true crime stuff, I always see the TCAP people there as well.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I suppose it's all the same kind of stuff, isn't it? But I mean, yeah. I suppose one of the interesting things for me is how, and that documentary touches on it very well, is how has prolonged exposure and a lack of understanding to the internet and YouTube community, how does that affect a person and the mental health? With Chris Chan, it's certainly not done him any favours. With Lorne, I mean, I don't know, but one certainly would assume it's everything that he's been through. It's certainly not done him any favours, because what happens when you get so embedded in reading people's comments online and believing they're all real and believing everything that everybody tells you, the line between reality and fantasy just becomes so blurry that you just end up not really living. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think for Lorne there was a very simple way, like him bringing himself. Although we had started, or you, well, yeah, started making videos before he came online. I think once he's making his own YouTube videos, then he made himself fair game.
Oh, of course. I mean, I don't think anybody can disagree with that. If you know, I think his YouTube channel, I think he was encouraged to do that. However, that isn't an excuse for him, because he's a grown man capable of making his own decisions. If he's that stupid to think that there wouldn't be repercussions, it still baffles me that he thought that. Because I think what the trouble is, what I noticed in a lot of his videos when he was doing the videos, people would go online and tell him what he wanted to hear so that he would continue to bring out content. Like, you could see the sarcasm in the comments, and they go, Lorne, I think you're absolutely wonderful. Don't listen to what people telling you. I think you're amazing and you've got such an amazing voice. And then I was expecting him to say, stop taking the piss out of me, but he'd go, oh, thank you so much. Would you like to send me a private message? So he bought into all the all the positive comments, which you knew were people trolling him, but he believed it, and that's why in the credits of one of his videos.
The other trouble and another comparison with guys like Lorne and Chris Chan, they're so obsessed with women as well that even if they're being trolled by a woman, they forget they're supposed to be like betrothed. I don't know if that's the right word in this context, but with someone.
That was a word.
Betrothed. Yeah, it's like to get married, I think, in the future or something like that. But they forget, like, as soon as another pretty face pops up, they'll start talking about them. You could compare like Lorne trying to meet Michelle Simpson while he was technically dating Ramona, and also there's an audio clip of Chris Chan where he's in a chat room. And some girl says to him, Chris, I don't know how you've been single for so long. And he goes, yeah, me neither. And then the girl that he's dating at the time, apparently Julie's like, Chris, like she's right there in the conversation. Those guys, as soon as there's something on offer from the opposite sex, they forget about integrity. I mean, whether or not they had it before.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say Lorne never had any, did he?
No. But with Chris Chan, I don't know if it might be rude to say, but I suppose it's more excusable to an extent if he does suffer from autism. Although he's high functioning, he should understand empathy and how to treat other people.
Well, it's funny that we've not even touched upon this, and we will very briefly before we end the video. I don't want to go on too much longer, but Lorne tried to do what he tried to do to a child, so he's never going to find forgiveness in some people's eyes, and from one perspective, that's totally understandable. So that's a massive difference. But also, Chris Chan does have autism. You can tell it by listening to him. You can tell in his mannerisms and the way he functions. So, did he deserve...
I quite like the way he talks. The thing, but Lorne is not that dissimilar. Like, at least Chris Chan doesn't do the mini syllables. What Chris Chan does is he'll start one sentence and then not finish it and start trying to say the same thing in different words, which is kind of entertaining, although that might make me a terrible person. But like Lorne's like just tongue-tied. If you saw a video of Chris Chan talking and a video of Lorne talking next to each other, who would you think is the autistic one?
Oh, come on. You see, I mean, I'm not just saying this, but it's definitely
Chris. If you didn't have any background information on it.
No, as soon as you hear Chris Chan speak, you can tell there's something... You can tell that there is a degree of autism there. But to be honest, we were talking briefly before the video started, and we've always suspected that there might be something not quite right with Lorne.
But whether that's just having a low IQ,
yeah, there's some synapse that isn't firing somewhere. There's you know, I think we can all agree to that. But Chris Chan does deserve some leeway because he doesn't see the world like the majority do, and it is... I mean, is autism classed as a disability?
Yeah. But, but no, he's high functioning, he can drive, he can work.
Yeah, but it's still a disability, so he really... do you know what I think it is, right? When he said those things that he said online, Chris Chan, like, you know, having a go at women or whatever, it gives people who have got something against him or have just got a load of...
Women. He just hates the homos.
Yeah, but... Yeah, he's pretty...
Well, that's how he used to be anyway. Now he's a big part.
But even someone that wouldn't necessarily be offended by a comment like that, there are a load of people out there that love an excuse to throw hate at someone, to get rid of their own anger, to make themselves feel great, just to be a bully, and that's in essence what a bully is. And
well, once you get to the last part of that documentary, we'll have to do a video on who we think is more mentally disturbed out of that troll and Chris himself.
Yeah, well, I'm still not watched part 10. We might do a video about it tomorrow night, mightn't we? But yeah, that'll be interesting. But obviously with Lorne, he got himself in that situation. What he tried to do will never be forgiven. With Chris Chan, he said and did a lot of stupid things, but he has autism, so it's not...
Well, I wouldn't use autism as a full excuse for acting that.
No, I'm not saying it should.
He has the ability to better his life. I just think he doesn't listen to people. I mean,
I think there is an element that he hides behind it as well.
Yeah.
Because he mentions it a lot, doesn't he? Why would you need to keep mentioning it? It almost gives him like a justification for behaving like a twat.
Well, exactly, and he's very creepy towards women, and then he sort of says, you know, I believe he says it's because I'm autistic or whatever, which, you know, I think at his age, well, we've seen what he's become now, which is very strange, and it's hard to wonder how much influence what's happened to him throughout his life has had over the person he is today. But if that's who he always wanted to be, then good on him. Now just start working harder and making better content that's not just you whining, Chris. If you ever watch this video, I very much doubt he does, and then people will start coming around. Chris has got an opportunity to turn everything in his favor. He's had many years to do that. Whether or not he can or not, I don't know, but he does have supporters, and he does have people who are probably on the fence. But while he's whining, looking like a lady, I find it very hard watching. No offense to him, but I don't...
It's not... it's entertainment for the wrong reasons. The law... Yeah. I mean, how many subscribers has he got on his channel now? About 30,000?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So there'll always be attention for him. He'll always get that attention, and I suppose, you know, that's another element we have to consider, is the attention that you get from people. You know, Lorne wasn't able to decipher between the positive and the negative. Neither was Chris Chan, but they both like it. Everybody likes attention to a certain degree, but the problem is when you're involved in the internet and you don't have intelligence, it's a fucking very bad recipe.
Yeah, or if you're too stubborn to listen to good advice.
Yeah. I think that's a nice place to end it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been interesting, so we might do some similar videos soon. If you guys have got any thoughts on the matter, don't forget to head over to Adam's second channel, I Wreck Everything, where I participate in the odd live stream where we talk about Chris Chan and other matters. But we don't necessarily do TCAP on that channel anymore, do we? Because of various things.
Well, I think mostly I just kind of got bored of TCAP, and also I was picking up Well, the Hampstead host stuff we did was really well. I think it was very interesting, and I picked up a lot of people who had no interest in TCAP from that. So I'm trying to not pander to the masses, but also just things that are too interesting. I think the trouble with TCAP is if you focus in one area too much, it gets stale. I think on your previous version of your channel, we kind of ended up talking about the same things with Lorne a lot over.
Oh yeah, you can only go so far with that. Good God, you know.
Yeah, so it's nice to sort of broaden the horizons a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of stuff, isn't there?
Subculture. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of things. There's some great little channels I found recently, like Let Me Tell You About, and things like there's a mock university lecture on Sonitude. You need to watch that.
Sounds pretty good.
I think it's Ben Saint is the name of the channel. He's not got many subscribers, but it's very good. And he's got like a bunch of mates around, and they're just sitting drinking while he explains the ins and outs of Sonitude and Chris Chan to them. It's really well done. So I'd recommend checking that out. I think it's called Ben Saint PCP 101 Lecture Sonitude.
For anybody that's looking for more info on the Chris Chan, if you just type in Chris Chan documentary, there's 10 parts. Each one's about 40 minutes. It's very interesting. Yeah. It's quite in depth, so you have to stick with it. If you've got any interest in it, it's worth checking out.
You should put a link to that in the description to the first part.
Really that's good. A good idea. Yeah,
highly recommended.
Yeah, I will do. Right, anything else?
No, thanks for having me.
Right, we'll leave it there, and I'll speak to you later, guys.